Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Rush to Judgment with Jessica. I am Jessica. How are you doing? How's it going? How's it going? Are we all ready to go back to work tomorrow? For those of us that have had a fabulously wonderful 3-day weekend, ready to go back to work? Yes, Queen, yes. Oh, okay, well, if you are, then I am. But anyhow, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever it is you are coming from in your day. I am currently in the night time on a Monday night in the January of the 16th of 2023. And we are going to finish out this day one of the trial for Alexander Jackson, who is being charged with 3 counts of first-degree murder for the unaliving of his mother, his father, and his younger sister. I have covered the whole day one in the previous videos, and I will do my best to keep up with this trial from day to day. It is a current trial that is going on. They did not have trial today, I don't believe. I didn't see it. That doesn't mean it didn't happen, but I didn't see it. Maybe I should have looked harder, but I didn't do jack diddly today. So, yeah, if they actually did do it today would have been a good day to try to do my first live. But I don't know, because I wasn't working. I was off. But I didn't look. Well, I did look and I didn't see it. So I think they were off because it was a holiday. It was Martin Luther King Jr. Day. So I think everybody was off. Pretty sure. I didn't see the mail. So I think that means things are shut down. Anywho, so this, if you want to catch up on the day one, you can go back and watch the previous videos. We are currently, they interviewed some neighbors. They did their opening statements. They interviewed neighbors. And right now they are talking to one of the officers that was first to respond to said crime scene or said scene. And he had a canine, Corsa. And we got to see the search that him and Corsa did, and did the whole direct with him. And now we are going to start the cross-examination with him. And oh, hello. And that is where we are gonna go with that. And also, just a reminder, I am not a legal expert by any means. I do not have a law degree. I do not specialize in any special area of educational information. I am merely here to give my opinion and throw my judgments out there. Oh, hold on, I don't think my things are connected properly. Don't want to do the things wrong. Connect. Okay. Make sure this is right. That is right. Yep. Everything coming through. Court volume is up. Speed is set at 1.25. Closed captioning is on. And we shall get going. But also, reminder too, like and subscribe and comment down below what you think. Tell me your thoughts and opinions. And feel free to judge right along with me. Because that's what this is about. We are rushing to any type of judgment. Because that's what we do. That's what we as Americans and as just people in general do. It is innocent until proven guilty. Normally, that is what we are supposed to go by, but be real. It is normally guilty until proven innocent most of the time. So while it shouldn't be, that is usually how things work. Once you have it in your brain that somebody is guilty of something, it is really, really hard to undo it. But go back and listen to the opening statements. I really enjoy watching opening statements because it does give you that stop and think moment, because you listen to one side, and if it's done correctly, you'll listen to one side and you'll be like, okay, well, I can see their points here, so maybe they could be correct. And then the other side gets up and they're like, well, they said some valid things, and they said, so it could be it'll be a good fight. So I think that's why I always like opening statements the best, if they're done right. Sometimes people wander, and opening statements are shit. So there's that as well. Anyway, okay, we will get started. This is the cross-examination of Officer Habuckle and his canine partner, Corso. Yep, I think so. But she's not on the stand because she's a puppy. She cannot. Okay. And if I mute myself or turn off my camera, it's because I'm eating chips and salsa, and that would be way too loud on camera. Okay, bye.
Mr. Johnson, you want to get your mic on? Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Johnson.
Good afternoon, Officer Buckles.
Good afternoon.
Johnson.
When the dog is being trained, like Corsa, do you keep logs of those training activities?
Yes.
Corsa.
Right. And is it your testimony here today that your dog can track over concrete?
Over concrete?
Yes.
Yes.
Down the street?
Well, it's the dog can track and cross cement areas, rock areas, whether it's gravel, and locate odor of disturbance of vegetation, say on the other side of the road, and continue on with the track.
Right, but it sounded like on direct testimony, you testified that your dog could track human odor left on cement or a street, and you're saying that's not the case.
No, when a person is, say, walking, running, and they cross cement, they can still leave odor behind on that cement that the dog could possibly detect working across that area of cement, and what we call is a road crossing. The dog could possibly detect odor if there's odor left behind.
So your dog can track over cement?
Following odor of human odor if it's there.
And I'm not talking about sniffing grass and then crossing the street and then reacquiring a scent. I'm talking about a dog sniffing odor down a street.
No, I do not have my dog track down the middle of a road for a long distance, if that explains what you're asking.
The reason I'm asking is because you didn't have Corsa sniff any part of this going down the street in this track, did you? That's because she can't do it.
I don't do tracks on cement for long distances.
Well, all right. How long of a distance are we talking about? All it takes to cross the street?
Like there's a short distance of like crossing the street, the dog will cross the street and continue to pick up on a track.
But not, it has not got its nose down on the street, in the street, during the track. It has to reacquire the track on the other side.
Yes, but there are instances, depending on the location of the track, where odor can be left on concrete, where the dog can still smell that odor there. But I don't train her to track down the middle of a road for a long period of time just off of odor.
Your dog was doing a lot of panting that morning. Isn't that right?
Yes,
And that's not what she usually does, is it?
well, she's breathing with her mouth open.
I understand the dog has to breathe. But I'm talking about panting now.
Yes,
This dog was doing a great deal of panting throughout this whole morning, wasn't she?
yes, she was excited, and it was a warm day.
But it's unusual for her to be panting that much during a track, isn't it?
Depends on the circumstances. Every day is different. The weather's different every day. Climate conditions always play a factor into how Corsa is before she starts a track.
When Corsa pants like she was that morning, she is less effective at sniffing, isn't she?
I would say she can still smell when she is panting. It's normal for dogs to pant while they're on long searches, searching for odors, and then they will close their mouth and use their nose to detail stuff more. Or once they catch an odor through their olfactor of their mouth and they want to investigate it, you'll see them close their mouth and start to use their nose. And that is a change in behavior as a canine you watch for your dog to see that change. So even though they're panting, they can still smell and detect odor.
I understand
Stop
that
in on the mic, Mr. Johnson.
when they're panting that hard, are they?
I couldn't do that 100%, but they.
And she
Oh dear.
well, manuals and these tracking sheets. Isn't that right?
Yes, I mean, I guess what I'm trying to say is she can still smell while she's panting. I can't say whether I would assume that maybe, yes, it is a little bit harder for her to smell, but I can't say that she's not unable to smell.
When you're training Corsa to track a track, you know where that track begins. Isn't that right?
Wait, can you state that again?
When you're doing the training, when you're taking her out on these training logs that you talked about, you know where the track begins, right?
Depending on the circumstances, every training track is different.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Sometimes in a training track, they will say, this is your large area to search to locate that track. It's not like here's your starting point. There's something sitting on the ground. You're going to start right here. You have to search the area to have the dog find the track.
Most of the training tracks that you took Corsa on, you knew where the start of the track was. Did you not?
Some of them, I do know where the start is. If it's a track that I lay myself, I obviously know right where it starts. If it's a track like a canine training day and somebody else from the unit lays the track and it's unknown to me, they will give me a starting area to scan Corsa across to try to locate the track. So I don't know exactly where the track starts. I only have an area to search to try to find the start of the track.
And on many of these tracks, on these training tracks, you know the route of the track as well, not just where it starts, but you know the directions that it goes.
If the track is unknown to me, then I don't know anything of the route of the track.
It's rare, though, in these training tracks that you don't know the route. Most of the time, you know the route. Isn't that right?
If I lay the track myself, then I know the path and the route. But if it's laid by another canine handler, then it is unknown to me exactly where they walked at.
If a dog doesn't get on the track right away, or if the dog doesn't find it, let me start over. If the dog doesn't find the track, then any other track or any other scent could be the track, right? I mean, you have to, if the dog finds the track, like Corsa, if Corsa found the track, then she could track it, right?
Correct.
If she doesn't come upon the track, she can't track it.
Correct.
And the only way she can come upon the track is if you take her in the right place.
Correct.
And even sometimes if you take her in the right place, she might miss it the first time around, right?
Correct. And that is why I allow her to scan back and forth.
All right. But if she misses it the first time on these training tracks, you bring her back around and give her another chance, right?
Well, what I would do is if I was scanning her right to left across an area and she didn't pick anything up, I would let her scan back from left to right. That way she's coming across that area from both directions, because when picking up a track for the dog, your wind direction plays a lot of factor into the odor of the track. So that way she gets to a chance to locate that odor from both directions. And that's why I allow her to stand back and forth out in front of me. I don't cross one time and then just sit there and do a circle. I allowed her to go back and forth in front of where I'm at.
It didn't appear on the video that you went back over another area. It looked like you just kept going down that gravel path. It didn't look like you circled back around and let her try again.
So when I first started and I went between the vegetation and the house, there's a thin strip of grass. Corsa is working back and forth, left to right, back and forth, continuously back and forth. I'm breaking that section down as one section of the areas that I want to search. I'm letting her work out in front of me and cross back and forth to get her the most opportunity to find any odor that has crossed through that area. So that is what I'm describing as allowing her to work back and forth.
I understand that, but I'm just saying you didn't go back over an area and let her try again. You kept moving forward.
Correct, because she had gone back and forth multiple times as we worked through an area.
And you said that she only indicated on one occasion on that whole track?
She showed odor at the where Officer Brown had went over to get his viewpoint. And then towards the end, when I work over towards the other side of the house, I saw the change of behavior in her when she got up by the house. And then you can see she goes up to the back corner and she kind of stops. She's investigating the ground, and then she turns and starts to pull right along the back of the house. But knowing that officers had come down from that side of the house and was going right up towards the patio, that is why I tell her, good girl, and I take her away and go back over to the area leading away from that side of the house to the white area.
Thank you. So on those two instances, you were assuming that she was smelling the officers.
Correct.
She could have been smelling somebody else, right?
Possibly if it was mixed in with where the officers were at.
Okay. That's happened to you before on a training track, right?
I guess I don't know what you're saying there. Exactly.
We'll get to it. So I understand Corsa's a good dog. She's a great dog, right?
She's a wonderful dog.
You love your dog.
I love her. She's the greatest partner.
You're doing canine work because you love dogs.
Correct.
I assume that would be the case. I've got dogs of my own. So you know this dog very well.
Correct.
And you know what her breeding patterns are like, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a yes? I'm sorry.
Yes.
And her abilities in tracking, right?
Yes.
And you kept these training logs when she was being trained.
Yes.
Can you tell us how many times on the job, now I'm not talking about training, but in a police investigation, you've taken Corsa out in the field to track a cold track? And by that, I mean a track that's 20 or 30 minutes old.
And just to clarify, are you saying this is a track on a call for an unknown subject, not a training track?
An unknown subject. How many times, like say a burglary or something, where somebody says, my house just got burgled, the guy ran out that way, but that was 20 or 30 minutes ago. How many times have you taken Corsa out to try to find that track?
I couldn't give you an exact number. I would have to pull like all my calls for service for attempted tracks to give you a number. I've attempted tracks before with her on those situations, and we've had success. And then there's also situations where we locate a track and we'll start to track and then it ends. And there's different varieties that I could go into detail and explaining what possibly could have happened for why the track ended.
I'm just wondering how many times would you say, like after a call on a burglary or an assault that happened 20 or 30 minutes ago, did you take Corsa out to try to find a track?
Like I said, I can't give you a number. I've done it several times with her.
More than 5?
Yes.
More than 10?
Maybe around there. Like I said, I can't give you a number because I would have to look over 3.5 years of records.
Sure. It doesn't happen very often, does it?
I don't track all the time with her, but I have had successful tracks off of calls for service.
And what percentage would you say of those kinds of circumstances would you say that Corsa was successful, meaning she caught somebody?
Caught somebody. I've had maybe 5 tracks that I have located people.
What do you mean by maybe 5?
Around there. I'm just trying to give you a
He doesn't know.
Now, and just so we understand each other, I'm not talking about somebody who's actively fleeing, because I understand that Corsa will find that person, right? Somebody who's actively fleeing from your site. You guys pull over a car, dude takes off running. Yep. Corsa is going to find that person, right?
If she has eyes on
that person
when I deploy her.
Well, you mean she can't track the odor?
I feel like you're stating one thing that's different than what you're asking for.
Okay, well, that's why I want to make sure, and I am.
If the person gets out of a vehicle and takes off running and she has,
are you asking if she has exactly
a person that leaves, and then I come in and pick up the track and track. Like I said, there's been successful tracks. There's been also tracks that she has picked up and say it ends at a parking lot or at a street. We don't know the outcome of that. Maybe the person had a vehicle sitting there and they got into a vehicle and drove away, and that is why the track ended.
Or they ran down the street.
Correct.
Because Corsa can't track over cement.
not for long distances.
Okay, how long can Corsa track over cement for?
Well, like I said, if the person is leaving odor, depending on your situation, if a person runs across, say, a cement parking lot, but they're up next to a building, and say that odor is trapping there next to that building, she can still track that odor along that building, and then maybe she gets to the other side of that parking lot, and she goes back to the disturbed vegetation on the ground. Obviously, running down the middle of a street from a long distance, yes, that is very hard to follow that odor because there's nothing trapping that odor there like the ground would hold odor. So now your wind is blowing that odor all over the place. So tracking on cement for long distances is not something that I train Corsa on and do with her.
So you don't know what her success rate is for what we would call urban tracking?
For finding people, like I said, I would have to look through her records.
Are you aware that the national average for dogs performing urban tracking is 10%?
It is very low, and in a city like Cedar Rapids, it's very low because it's very difficult.
So if the success rate is only 10%, that means that 90% of the time, the dogs don't track successfully, correct?
That could be correct.
Okay. So the fact that your dog didn't find a track 30 minutes after this event occurred doesn't mean there wasn't an intruder in that house, does it?
All I can say is that my dog did not locate a track leaving that residence.
In fact, all you can say is that you didn't take the dog in the place where the track might have been laid. True?
I worked the area that I felt would be the most successful for locating a track of a person leaving the back door of that residence, and also where I could work her on fresh ground that I felt that was undisturbed.
All right.
With the fact of the call that we had to respond to the individual that was injured first, which allowed people to come up by the house. So I had to work away from that area.
I understand why you did what you did. That wasn't my question. My question was that Corsa didn't find a track because maybe you didn't take her where the track was. Is that a yes or a no?
I don't know where the track was at. So without knowing where the track was, there was nobody to say, I saw the person run over here or run that direction or run in between these two houses. Therefore, I didn't have an area to go anywhere else.
So that was the question I had.
Search for a track across from this residence. I went
So I
out the
checked
backyard,
this
which was
spot.
the last
Oh, yeah.
known information from the caller stating that I believe he went out the back door. So therefore is why I searched that area.
So again, my question is that Corsa might not have found the track because you didn't take her to where the track began. Is that right?
There is a possibility
I mean, that's an explanation, is it not?
that there is a chance that there could be a track.
If
that
he
I
went out the
didn't
back
cross 'cause
door,
I didn't have any
then the track
better
would have
information
started
on
at the
area to
back
go search
door.
in the backyard.
Well, you really only took her to the backyard area, right? You didn't start that track until after you crossed the street and you were in the neighbor's yard, right?
I started, yes, at the back of the yard over by the neighbors.
Well, it was actually, you started off going into the neighbor's yard, right?
Yes.
That's what we're watching. For a little while there, you are on the other side of that gravel path and you're taking Corsa through the neighbor's yard, right?
Correct.
And then you drop down onto the gravel path, right?
Yes.
And that's where she alerts on that tree area.
The reason why I started where I started was knowing that Officer Brown was in that area. If somebody left that residence and were to have ran or walked up that direction towards the neighbor's house, to me, should be undisturbed area other than where the suspect fled to, since I didn't see anybody walking around that area when I showed up. Therefore is why I started with that area first. After not seeing any change of behavior in Corsa to any odor in that area, I then moved in and started checking other areas.
And before you did any of this, did you do a canvass of all the other police officers to find out where all they had been before you started Corsa off on this journey?
No, just what I knew from what I saw officers do.
And again, getting back to what we were talking about, I wonder if I could ask the state to put that map back up. Do you see it okay?
Yes.
So can you indicate, is this the house right here? Is that?
Yes. Yep.
Bro, I can't hear you.
The Jacksons live, is that right?
Yes.
All right. So you took Corsa and you started your search up here, right?
Yes.
That's when you said Kong, right?
Not Kong.
Oh, okay. But I thought you said Kong.
I gave her command to track.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
Through this neighbor's yard, and then you drop down in here where the gravel path is.
Yes.
And you came around here, right, at the very edge of this yard, and you came back this way a little bit.
Yes. Towards the
That's
house.
where the dog picked up this, what you thought was the scent of another officer.
Yes. Knowing that officers came down that side of the house.
You know that an officer did come around this way. We'll see that on another video. But another officer had come around this way,
Okay.
right?
I knew officers came around that side of the house. What their exact path was over, how far out they were, I don't know. I just knew they came down that side.
All right, but that's where she smelled, right there
And-
alongside the house.
And to me, the way my angle is, it looks like you're trying to point that they came out away from the house in the wooded area and up. Is that what you're trying to describe there?
I'm sorry,
I-
you came out of the thing. So right here, okay. When you came out of that, you came down this way on this far edge of the yard, right?
Yes, checking between the wooded area and the house.
But you were on this side, you were on the very extreme left side of the house,
Yes.
in the yard. It's on the front.
Yes. Yep.
I'm just trying to make it clear the route that it took. So you went like this, through here, down into the gravel path, down here, and back here a little bit.
Correct.
That's the only place that you had Corsa track, right?
Yes.
Of course, it can't stop in the middle of it and go, no. The track goes from here. It comes from out of here and goes this way. It goes down the street this way, or goes down the street this way. Of course, it can't do that.
Correct, because there is multiple people that walk through there to handle the first portion of this call.
Not only that, you have to take her over the track.
Yes.
She has to smell with her nose with the disturbed vegetation.
Yes.
She can't, if she's, a few feet away from a track and she has to sniff, she's not gonna know the track's over there. She has to run over it with her nose, right?
Correct.
Like a vacuum cleaner.
Well, she can pick up that odor and then work to where exactly the track is at, depending on your wind direction. But I did not take her to that section due to the fact that multiple people had walked down that path to the back of the residence.
She's not gonna smell human odor in the air for 30 minutes.
On that area there, she could smell that odor in the air and also track. Like I stated before with our NAPWATA certifications, she has tracked a track that has sat longer than 30 minutes, 1 hour.
I misunderstood. I meant in the air, not crushed vegetation.
Oh, in the air, yeah, just odor in the air, she wouldn't be able to tell with all the other body odors that were there. There was with multiple people that were in that area. Not only that, then you had SWAT cars, you had an ambulance kind of in that area. So you have a lot to play in that area right there. She would not be able to walk into that area and say, hey, I smell this odor. She is not trained to scent specific odor.
Had left this way. Corsa would not have smelled.
Correct.
And if the intruder had gone this way down the street and exited over here, Corsa wouldn't have smelled anything.
Correct.
Thank you for doing that. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm done with that part. So getting back to Corsa certification, you have that in front of you. Corsa wasn't actually certified in June of 2021 to do anything, was she?
She was certified. We certify once a year.
Right, and that it lasts for a year.
Yes.
But the last time she was certified was in 2019, prior to June of 2021.
Because the year of COVID, they waived certifications.
I understand, but if it only lasts a year, then she wasn't actually certified on that date.
Typically, on a routine basis, our canine unit does certification testing once a year, every year. However, due to the uncontrollable circumstances, we were not able to do a certification.
And yet, you could have done an in-house one, not a certification, but you could have taken courses through all the same sorts of tests that they do for certification. You could have done it in-house in Cedar Rapids, right?
I would say that we do stuff that's pretty similar and close to that in our everyday canine unit training.
And Corsa is also certified in explosive detection, right?
Yes.
Now, would that include gunpowder?
Yes.
So Corsa is trained to sniff out and smell like when a firearm has been fired. She can smell that in the air.
She could smell the odor on, say, spent casings. They were like on the ground. She would be able to smell that.
Oh, no.
And Corsa would have smelled that very smell that morning in the house, right?
I wasn't deploying her to smell for explosives, and I never deployed her out from me. I kept her at my side.
I understand that, but the gun had been fired in that house, the gunpowder would drop down to the floor. Corsa would smell that.
Not, I guess, I can't say that she couldn't smell it, but I wasn't telling her to go smell for it to locate it.
Understood, but she would smell it nonetheless.
I guess you'd have to say I think so, but I wasn't preparing her for a search for odors. I was taking her at my side to clear the residence and have her there if she were to be needed for contact with an intruder.
So how do you prepare differently for an explosive smell?
Everything is different. As I stated earlier, we have a routine for tracking. Let her out, see if she needs to go to the bathroom. I put a harness on her. I walk her over. I off her. I switch the leash to her harness. To go search for a person in a building is totally different. If she's going to go out and search for man on an area search, she has two collars that she wears. One collar, that's where the leash is hooked if she's searching for man out in an open area. If she's searching for explosive odors, her leash is hooked to a different collar. And I bring her into the area where I'm going to start the search. I place her into a sit instead of have her lay down. So she's sitting. And then I have a whole separate command that I give her to go search for explosive odors.
Have you ever, when training Corsa, had put
Explosive
her in an area where
odors.
she could smell explosives, and then asked her to track something?
Yes, there are times where we do training, and our last certification that we did last fall was also areas. We had a scenario where the dog will go in and maybe search a building for explosive odors, and then I'll take a ride out and I'll transition her into searching for a track or doing a building search. I may do a track and then bring her in and have her do explosive detection.
So you're saying that you did that in a training exercise, that you had her smell for explosives and then took her directly out for a track?
We have done scenarios like that where we have them do one venue and then they go right into a different venue.
No, but I mean that one. Where you had her go, where you took her in somewhere to smell for explosives and then you took her directly out for a track. You're saying you did that with her?
We have done that in training.
Now, going back to this panting that we saw on the video, Corsa doesn't normally pant like that when you do a track, does she?
Not all the time.
In fact, she's a quiet breather, isn't she?
When you get her out of the car, she's loud because she's excited.
Okay. Well, turning your attention to a track log back from May 31st of 2019, you said Corsa did a great job with this track. She does a great job keeping her nose down and staying with the odor. As a handler, I'm able to read her on ramps a lot easier. I am also able to focus on her body movements. One thing I need to work on is trying to listen to her breathing, as it is very quiet and I have a hard time hearing her breathing.
That is a situation on a different day than this event where maybe it wasn't as hot or maybe it wasn't as humid, so maybe she wasn't breathing as hard when I had her tracking.
Well, you wrote, this was you writing this, right?
And you also have to realize that she just went into the house and had a lot of excitement in the house, and then I bring her out to the track. Maybe before that training situation that you're reading right now, maybe she just wasn't in another scenario right before that.
My question was, you wrote this, right?
Yes.
And you wrote it back on May 31st of 2019, and you described your dog as a quiet breather.
Yes.
Okay, in that situation, yeah, maybe she was.
I was saying that's trying to listen to her breathing as she was tracking is something that it was hard to hear her breathing on that track.
You said she is very quiet, and I have a hard time hearing her breathing. That's what you wrote. You didn't say on this track. You said she's a quiet breather.
She is a quiet breather, but every situation is different. Like I stated, every track's different, every training day is different, every training opportunity is different. Depends on the day where she could be breathing differently due to the climates and what all she has done before. So going off that, I was talking about her breathing that day in that training. My notes were for that training log.
Well, by reading it, it appears that you're describing your dog as a quiet breather.
At times she is, and then there's times where she is a little bit louder.
All right. And that's maybe when she's hot or it's humid. She's uncomfortable.
Correct.
Then she's a louder breather.
Yes, if it's humid out, she will breathe louder.
She's allowed to
On another
breathe.
track on June 3rd, 2019, you wrote,
Otherwise, she's not allowed to breathe.
I messed the start of this track up by not walking back and forth enough. Remember writing that?
That would have been back during the initial training school when she was brand new and I was first teaching her how to track. And that is most likely that I pointed that comment out as a handler. That is something that I probably did, was I didn't allow her to search my given start area well enough.
You said, I think you meant miss the start, right? Not mess. I think you wrote, I missed the start of this track. Oh no, you said, okay, I withdraw that. I messed the start of this track up by not walking back and forth enough. right?
Correct. So what I'm doing is I'm stating that as a handler, I made the mistake. I didn't allow my dog to be productive enough in an area where maybe I didn't allow her to check that area enough. So I'm saying that due to that situation, it's my fault.
That
Not the
was
dog's
him
fault, it's
saying,
my fault.
my bad.
You've been
I
doing that for 10 years at this point,
up.
right?
Correct.
So you're a very experienced handler back in 2019.
Yes.
So even experienced handlers can make a mistake
Yes.
and miss the start of a track,
We are humans and we're not perfect.
right? And not trying to beat you up about it. I'm just saying that's what happens, right?
Absolutely.
And the reason you knew you missed the start of that track is because you knew where that track started.
I can't recall if I was given the start location or not on that track. Being that it was a brand new dog in training, there is a good chance that maybe it was like, hey, here's where your track starts, and I was working that area. But I can't answer for sure that I knew where the start was on that one.
If I showed it to you, would you refresh your recollection?
I could take a look at it.
You know what I mean, folks?
Oh my God. See, this is just petty though. You're being petty. Like, I don't really understand. Like, just say you didn't take her to the other spot. You could have took her to the other spot.
At this point, but I just want to record clear what I'm approaching. So I'll just go.
Say,
I won. Does that work?
It works for me.
say this is, you could have took her somewhere else. You didn't. Keep it short and sweet, bro. You're badgering him at this point. Talking about the dog's breathing, how unreliable the dog is. Leave the goddamn dog alone. She's just a dog. She can do better at finding people than you can, I bet you. Just with her nose. Bet you're not very good at finding people. Hiding under porches and shit.
So looking at this being June 3rd of 2019, I would have only been working her for approximately 3 to 4 weeks. So this is a brand new training. This is training her. Even though I'm an experienced handler, this is a whole new dog. Corsa has way different cues and behaviors than what Narco had. So I'm still learning her. Yeah, yep. So I was just trying to describe it if you wanted.
Thank you. Does that refresh your recollection about that one?
I can get an idea of maybe what took place, but I can't recall the exact moment of that training.
And would you be able to recall whether or not you knew the direction of that track?
I don't recall if I know where the exact track was at.
But you had to at least know where the track started.
And I was at least given an area of where to start.
Well, you said you messed up on the start of this track by not walking back and forth enough at the start to allow Corsa to find the track on her own.
So what I probably did was I had my area that was most likely given to me by Officer Schumann, who was the trainer. And I walked Corsa through that area and probably struggled to find the beginning of that track, being that this was new to her. And then as a training, then we realized that, she didn't locate it. And then maybe Officer Schumann said, okay, focus on this or work this area again. And I worked her again and she located the track then and started, because the remainder of my notes that go on in that training in that training session go on to state that once she did locate the track, she did very well. She then stopped and went to the bathroom, and we then restarted to locate and continue on the track. And then I state that I missed a few miscues of her with her head movements when relocating the track and going. But once I realized that she was back on the track and going, then she did a good job. And that was my overall complete notes.
All right, Mr. Johnson, I'm going to stop you from any more questions. At this point, we're going to take a afternoon recess. So I've got a couple minutes after 3. So again, these clocks aren't right, but we'll take a 15-minute recess. And ladies and gentlemen, I just remind you of the admonitions that I've given you previously.
Just stop picking on the damn dog. Like, he was using, okay, I'm just gonna rant for just a sec. He's picking on the man because, okay, like, I know that's what you're supposed to do and whatever, but okay, you're using something that was from 2019, okay? The dog was brand new. And these are training notes. Okay? Training notes. Use actual notes from calls and
Officer
things.
Buckles, I think your microphone is off. And sir, I would just remind you again, I'm not going to re-swear you in every time we take a break. I'm just going to remind you that you are.
Use
speaking.
both,
Yes.
And
but you only
just
use the things
sure you
that
all remember it wasn't very
look
long,
bad,
Mr.
but
Johnson
then
was
you
gonna ask
don't
questions
use it in
of Officer
completeness.
Buckles, and we'll continue with that. So, Mr. Johnson?
But you fucked
Thank you.
up and you let them talk too much
Officer
because you
Buckles,
don't
15 days after you were
use the
out at
close-ended
Oakleaf Court on that date,
closed-ended
the
question.
incident in question, 15 days later, you were on Jones Golf Course doing a track with Corsa, and you made the comment, with the heat and humidity, Corsa didn't act like herself. She was able to run this track and get from the start to the finish pretty well. However, she did a lot of casting back and forth across the track for the majority of it. Usually she is nose down and right on it. You remember making those comments?
Could call briefly, thinking of it, that what I was describing there was that usually when she tracks, she's nose down, she's staying right with the odor. But again, a lot of things come into play with your wind and your environment when a dog runs a track, whether they're right on the track footstep for footstep, they could be up with the track, but over a couple feet because of the wind direction. And that day, off the notes that you just read, with the humidity that she was casting back and forth, whether it was because of the wind or what it was, I was just stating that she was still tracking. She just wasn't giving me her normal behaviors of straight on the track, pulling straight. She was just more working it back and forth.
But you said with the heat and the humidity, Corsa didn't act like herself. That's what you wrote.
Probably feeling that because of those conditions is maybe what was causing her to not be herself and track the exact way that she usually tracks.
Because she was doing all this casting back and forth.
Yes.
But you, again, knew the track direction. You knew the track
Sorry.
she was supposed to be on.
Being what I'm recalling that we were at Jones Park, I would assume that was a canine training day where our entire canine unit was there. So therefore, I most likely would not have known the track. When we train as a unit, we will lay tracks for each other, but when we come up to run the track, we don't know where that track is at.
When you say she did a lot of casting back and forth across the track, that makes it sound like you knew where the track was.
Well, if another handler lays the track for me, and then when I go to run the track, they walk with me so that they can see what the dog does. And since they know where the track's at, so then they can also give notes to me or say, hey, your dog struggled here or did very well here, or, the track is right here. Your dog did a great job of picking the track up, staying right on the track, or, with the wind direction here, the dog was tracking 3 feet over approximately. So that could have been knowing that she was going back and forth. I observed that behavior in her and knew that when she's casting back and forth a couple feet width, that in dog training that you see when I observe other dogs track or seeing dogs track is that they're working the odor. They're just not working the odor footstep for footstep. Therefore is why she was casting back and forth. And then the person who laid the track was probably saying, could have said, yes, she was not footstep for footstep. She was, cutting back and forth with the wind.
On July 6th of 2021, a few days later, you wrote, and this was on an explosive search, Corsa was worked off leash in each of these venue areas. With the very hot weather, she was panting from the start. Therefore, she wasn't sniffing and detailing stuff on her own as usual. You remember writing that?
Could be correct for that training day.
Well, what do you mean could be correct? You wrote that, right?
Yes, I can't recall. I guess what I'm trying to say is I can't recall the exact day. Like I can't picture it in my mind, but going off of those notes, that would be my correct notes for that training day.
I mean, I can show them to you if you have a doubt about what I read.
No, I believe you. My answer was that I can't recall that exact picture of it, but if that's the notes that I put for that training day, then that is what I observed and we encountered.
So once again, there's an example of hot weather and her panting impairing her ability to sniff as well.
Yes, hot weather does play a factor into dogs working, especially if they work for long periods of time.
And panting.
Correct.
Panting affects her ability to sniff as well.
She can still smell, but yes, it probably affects her not smelling as well.
Okay, thank you. And then on another entry on July 25th of I'm back to 2019 now, at Hawkeye Downs, Corsa did great tracking on the grass. I allowed her to work the area and take her time on the road crossing to figure it out. I gave her a little assistance, taking her to the other side of the road after she checked the area before crossing. Once we crossed, I let her work on her own to relocate the track. I was happy with her overall performance. You wrote that, right?
So yes, that would probably be that she came up to a road crossing and she started checking to the left and checking to the right, and I wasn't seeing her pick anything up. But she was still searching those areas, trying to find the continuation of the track. And so, because she was once again a newer dog at that time, and all these different environments and trainings are, or tracks are new to her, I then took her across the street and scanned her to pick up the track to teach her that, hey, when you track, you come up to a change of, ground, whether it's pavement or rock, the track can continue across, it can go out to the side. So I was just trying to help her in a training to teach her.
That was just another example of the fact that she can't track over cement, right? She has to relocate the track on the other side of the road.
I would say in a roadway, correct, because it's so wide open that it wouldn't hold odor on the roadway.
Right, so it's not a matter of she can do it for a little ways. She loses the track when she hits the cement, and she has to reacquire it on the other side.
Yes, the odor is not going to be as strong on the cement, and but like I said, every environment's different where she could have odor, but most likely, yes, she crosses and reacquires the disturbed vegetation on the other side.
And then there was another entry on June 13th of 2019, and you remarked on this one, this was an unknown track. So when you do have an unknown track, you put that in your report. That's an unknown track, right?
That entry I put in there, but I don't always put that in there in notes. Like I stated earlier, if it's a track on a training day where our entire canine unit is there, majority of the time, another handler lays the track for me. If I'm working the street, sometimes I will go out and lay a track myself to allow her a rep of tracking, and due to the fact that I'm working the street, I can't always have other people lay the tracks. But if it was on a canine training day, then yes, we lay tracks for each other.
Officer Buckles, the vast majority of these training tracks, you know the track. Isn't that true?
Sorry, I can't hear you.
The vast majority of these training tracks, you know where the track is and you know where the track goes.
No, I do not. If it's a canine training day and somebody else lays the track for me, I do not stand there and watch where the track goes. They don't tell me where the track is. They lay the track, and then when I'm ready to run the track, they give me my start area. A lot of times, a handler will be laying a track for a Corsa and myself, and I'll be off in a different area laying a track for their dog, and then we'll run each other's tracks.
And this is going on this one. My starting area was right where I had walked through previous on my way out from laying an earlier track for another dog. Corsa caught my out path and began tracking that. Amy told me I wasn't on the actual track laid by Cody. I then worked Corsa throughout the area, and she located the actual track and did a great job. This just shows, again, that she can't even distinguish your tracks from somebody else's tracks.
So in that situation would be that, Cody started my track. I laid a track most likely for Cody. And when I was coming back out, I didn't know where Cody started. So it just happened to be that where I walked back out was in the area of where Cody started. So when I first initially started the scan of my track, I sent Corsa out into an area that I was given to have her try to locate the track. She came across the odor of the track of me coming back out and picked that odor up. Therefore, she started to follow that track because she couldn't tell whether it's going, which direction. She's just following the path. She didn't know that that was my out path. And then Amy would have said, hey, she has picked up your out path track because you came out where Cody started. So I took her away from it and went and scanned her in another area, and Corsa would have scanned that area and then picked up the track that Cody laid, and then she started tracking, and then Amy would have said, okay, she is on the track now that is laid by Cody.
Yeah, that's what I just read to you. But
So
my question was that she can't distinguish your track from anybody else's track. Isn't that correct?
I guess I was misunderstanding what you were saying. She's picking up a track is what she was doing.
And my question was, she can't distinguish your track from anyone else's track.
I guess
she'll track you even though you're handling her. She'll track your track.
Correct.
Okay. And in this particular instance, again, is another example of the fact that she can't track over brick. You wrote, during this track, she crossed a brick patio and did a great job locating the track on the other side.
Yes,
right?
She came up on so she would have tracked up to the brick patio, worked her way across that brick patio. Whether she was still smelling human odor across that brick patio, she's still sniffing and working her way across the brick patio. And then she gets to the other side, and she is now smelling what I would assume would be grass that's around the brick patio. And then that's where I see her bury her nose down into the grass and continue tracking on.
Right. That's why you wrote it the way you did. She wasn't nose down over the brick patio. She reacquired the track on the other side of the brick patio.
Correct.
Isn't that right?
Correct.
Okay.
Because odor doesn't hold as well on hard surfaces like cement or brick.
Again, on October 18th of 2021, you wrote on a track Corsa was started away, and I don't need you to tell me about the whole track again. Try to listen to my question, okay? And if you then you can answer it however you want. But I prefer.
You know what?
Repeat the whole thing.
You asked the question.
Okay.
He's answering the question.
Of the start.
That's not the way you want him to.
She picked the odor up as she was working parallel with the track. Once she picked this odor up, she had a head snap and worked over to the track. Once she hit the track, she was locked on it and pulling hard. She tracked really well up to the road crossing. Once she crossed the road, it took her a few minutes to catch the track with the offset of the road crossing. Once she located it, she went right back to nose down. Right? That's what you wrote.
Correct.
And that's another example of her not being able to track over cement.
And that's what I stated earlier was that over cement, it does not hold odor, so she is not going to track footstep for footstep on hard surfaces.
On June 15th,
How many times
you wrote,
do you
Corsa
have
started
to
out searching
go
hard,
over
and then after a few
the
minutes of searching
same
and not having
thing?
found the track, she started to not search as hard. I continued to work with her, and finally she picked up the track. Once she got going, she did a good job working the track for the heat and sunny conditions.
Yes, with sunny conditions, the sun will dissipate odor faster than a cloudy day or during the night. Therefore, maybe with the sun, it made the odor harder to detect. Maybe, obviously, she was hotter, so maybe it was making it harder for her to breathe. And depending on that exact circumstance for how long she was searching for the start
She
area.
is a dog.
I don't always start her right in the area. I'll start her off to the
This
side that
is
she has to
not an
search,
exact
and then come
science.
to an area where the start of the track is. So that she
Good
doesn't
God, why are we
learn that
spending so much
she started the
time
track
on
right
it?
where I get started at? Like that she knows she has to go out and keep searching.
Like,
until she finds the
honestly,
track.
So in other words, this is another example of an incident where Corsa has
didn't have to
difficulty in
spend
the heat,
this much
finding the
time
track in the heat and
talking
sunny
about the
conditions.
damn
Correct?
dog.
Yes, he does take a factor on dogs and it can make things more difficult for them.
Fucking
Corsa,
clearly.
and the next entry on June 15th,
They're
of
constantly
2022,
wearing a coat. It's
would be the
hot.
same time of year, the same day, actually on a different year, the next year. Corsa still needs work on learning that she may have to search for a long time to find a track and not to give up if not finding it within the first few minutes. Some tracks she did good on once she found the track, and some she struggled since it was so hot. That's what you wrote, right?
Yes.
Stop breathing into your fucking mic like that. Bro.
Then there's another entry
I know
on
I'm
June
a
10th of
mouth
2019.
breather.
This is at Seminole Valley Park.
Shit.
You wrote, Corsa did a good job locating the start of the track. Right at the beginning, she stopped and was sniffing a tree stump. I figured she was messing around and I pulled her off of it. Later found out that Bargain stepped on the tree stump. I think it says Bargain, maybe it's Bergen. Stepped on the tree stump when laying the track. Corsa relocated the track and moved on. Corsa went past a right-hand turn because of the strong winds. Once she was out of the odor, we had to work backwards a ways until she located the turn and then followed it until the end of the track. That's what you wrote, right?
Correct.
And that was another example of
That's
you
what it
pulling off of a
says.
scent that she found, thinking that it was something else,
Again,
when it was actually the track she was supposed to be on.
Yep. Again, that would have been that she was a brand new dog. She was still in the training school. I'm still learning her. It's very common for dogs to want to pee on things. You take your dog for a walk down the street, they want to pee on things. So dogs, when you're trying to track and they're new and they're still getting the concept of tracking, they will want to explore, investigate, smell things, and pee on things. So when she started the track in grass and got up to this tree stump and she stopped to smell it, in my mind, I made the mistake as a handler saying, she may be trying to stop smelling this. She may try to pee. So to correct that, to keep her from doing that, so she doesn't learn that behavior from the beginning and think she can get away with it, I pulled her away from the stump to keep her from doing that, and then wanted her to search and find or continue on with the track. Then Officer Schumann
That was
said,
a
at
him
the track,
fuck up.
and you talk about what happened, what was good, what was bad. She said to me, remember when Corsa stopped and smelled this tree stump? You took her away from it. Well, Officer Bergen, who was the canine handler who laid the track for me, she said he actually stepped on that tree stump when laying the track. So it was a learning thing for me, but it was my mistake of pulling her away. But even though I took her away from that tree stump that had Officer Bergen's odor on it, I was still able to restart her and have her reacquire that track.
Because you restarted her.
Yes.
Because you went back.
Well, I wouldn't have gone back to the area that had already been searched because we had all already walked through there walking with Corsa. What I would have done is worked areas out where I knew that we had not already walked as a group of us, allowing her to search fresh area to find the continuation of the track.
Thank you. On June 14th of 2022, you wrote, "It was very hot and Corsa appeared to get hot and tired very fast. On her tracks, Dave would give a large area to have the canine search for the start of the track. Corsa seemed to struggle with this. I feel her problems was that she would search right away and has never had to search such a large area or for such a long time to find a track, so she would give up searching hard after a period of time, like she felt as if we were out for a walk. She did end up finding the starts and was able to complete these tracks, but finding the start took some work, and she needs to be walked back and forth in the area of the start until she finally caught the odor and started tracking."
Yes, dogs are not perfect. They're just like humans. And
Exactly,
so
that's what I
saying
think.
that she was out searching for a track, she started to get tired, giving up. Not so much giving up, but it was, she was starting to lose focus. That is something as a handler that I see, and then I start to realize, hey, I need to start making her search areas even longer, changing it up. Sometimes she may find a track right away. Sometimes she may need to search for a while. Therefore, I see that in her, so that I know as a handler that I need to start her a long ways away from a track and make her search for a long time, so that I can train her and let her know that sometimes she does have to search for a very long time before finding that track.
Gotta
When you
work
know there's
for
a
it,
track
girl.
and she hasn't picked up the scent, then you will work a long time for her to find that track, will you not?
Can you state that again? I didn't quite understand you.
When you're on a training exercise and you know there's a track and she's not picking up on it, you will work a long time for her to find that track, would you not?
Correct.
But on this particular incident, where you don't know if there's a track or not, you didn't work very hard to find one on June 15th, did you?
I worked Corsa on the area of the best knowledge that I had of the intruder leaving out the back door. So therefore, the backyard was the best area to start. And obviously, a dog can only work for so long before they get tired. And with the heat, there's no way that I could have went out and searched that whole entire neighborhood.
You had her tracking for a total of less than 10 minutes.
Around there, searching the area that I felt was most productive to pick up a track leaving that residence.
I get that, but even that track was less than 10 minutes long.
That's the time that it took me to cover the area that I felt at the time was the most productive area to search.
That's not working very hard, is it?
For a dog, it is when they're constantly sniffing.
You would agree, though, that you're going to work harder to find a track that you know exists than to find a track that you don't know whether it exists or not.
Well, on the training track, knowing that, yes, there was a track there was allowing her to work through her struggles to learn that if she keeps working, she will, to see, will she eventually pick up this track? Whether it's maybe in that situation, I just wasn't getting her in productive areas. Maybe she needed to get into a different area to pick up the track. Maybe it was like sunny out where a lot of the odor had dissipated, and maybe
So she didn't
around that
really
she was
have a
on,
lot
maybe
of
it was very short grass
incentive
and there wasn't a lot
to
of odor
work
there.
hard
And then maybe she
that
got to an
day.
area that had a little bit more thicker grass, longer grass, something to that terms where maybe she would have picked up the odor there because there's a little bit more odor in the taller grass. Without knowing the exact training session to know exactly what it was, other than just saying that she did have to search for a while, but I allowed her to work through and continue, and then she was able to pick the track up.
So is your testimony then that 10 minutes is enough time for Corsa to get too tired to want to search anymore?
The second part of that, or the second half of that question, I didn't really understand you.
So is it your testimony that 10 minutes is a long enough time for Corsa to get tired and not want to search anymore?
10 minutes is what it took me to walk her through the backyard of that residence, again, off the information I had, and I felt that she made multiple scanning paths back and forth and covered a lot of area in that backyard to attempt to pick up odor of a subject leaving, and that's how long it took. And once we completed that area, I felt that I had searched the most productive area to attempt to pick up a track, and that is when I allowed her to rest. And yes, she was tired from searching at that point, and I didn't pick up a track in that productive area, so that's where I ended it.
So my question was, are you saying that 10 minutes is a long enough time for Corsa to get tired and not want to search anymore? Is that a yes or a no?
Every day is different.
So on this day, on June 15th, and 10 minutes is generous. I don't think it was 10 minutes. That was long enough on that day. What we saw, it was long enough for Corsa to get tired and not want to search anymore.
Weird.
She was tired. I mean, you can see that, obviously she's hot when I lay her down, and she's at that point, she's no longer searching when I tell her to lay down. She's free to just lay there and be a dog and relax. So if she wants to pant as hard as she wants to pant and try to get all that air in to cool her body down, she can do so. And you do see that in the camera where she is panting and breathing very hard at that point. It's just, I made the decision at that point that I felt that I had covered the most productive area to have her find the track of a person leaving this residence. After, it just happened to be that it was approximately 10 minutes. After that 10 minutes, I could have went out and asked her to try to search more, for a track, but I did not do that because I felt that I covered the most productive area.
That's it.
So your testimony
He
is that
felt
your dog
he-
was tired.
Well, I mean, it was a warm day and she was warm. You can see that she's panting. I'm not saying that, obviously she's a little tired. She's been working, but I'm not saying that she was so tired that if I would have went and searched other areas that she wouldn't have been able to find a track. I just wasn't picking up anything in that productive area.
Now, I know as a dog lover, when you left Corsa in the car, you had the air conditioning going.
Yes.
Car was running.
Yes.
Isn't it true your dog is panting the second she comes out of that car?
She is excited when she comes out, and yes, she comes out from a car into humidity and she is panting, but that is another part of when I allow her to just roam around and give her an opportunity to break is she is having a few minutes to transition from the temperature in the squad car to the temperature outside and
The spot.
get that transition of that heat or humidity to her body before I ask her to go search.
But your dog, I'll restate my question, your dog was panting.
Oh,
the
for
second she came out
God's
of that car.
sakes.
Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. And so that wasn't because
You are
was tired.
spending way too much time on this
And
damn
she
dog.
didn't pant throughout the whole
That's
time when you
stupid.
had her outside that car.
On that day she did, yes.
And that was unusual for her.
Stupid.
Yes, she was
No.
excited, and when she is excited, she will pant.
It's not unusual for a dog to pant when it's hot outside.
Did Officer Schumann train you and K9 Corsa as a service dog team?
Yes.
All right. And how many K9 teams had she trained before she trained you?
So she had, she was on her second dog as a canine handler and completed a 12-week school to be a certified trainer. I don't know how many handlers and dogs she helped train during those 12 weeks while at that school. But then once she completed that school, training myself and Corsa along with the other two handlers and dogs were the first in-house dogs that she trained in our department.
So how many K9 teams had she trained before she trained you?
Like I said, I don't have an exact number for how many she trained while she was out of the trainer school.
If you know, how long had she been a dog handler?
I can't remember how many years. She worked a dog, the dog got injured, had to retire it, and she got another dog to replace that dog. So I would say maybe between 6 years.
If you know, how long has she been a trained K9 instructor?
Sorry, how long she has been?
Yeah. At the time of this incident,
So
how long had she been?
At the time of the incident of June 15th of 21.
Yes.
So she would have completed the 12-week handler training school, or sorry, the instructor training school in the early spring of 2019, where she graduated in April of 2019. So her start date would have been somewhere around 12 weeks before that. And then when she came back is when she started to immediately train myself and Corsa and the other the other two dogs.
So how long was her instructor training?
It was, I believe, 12 weeks.
Okay. And how many tracking dogs had Officer Schumann trained before you and Corsa?
How many ever were in that school that she went through for 12 weeks?
He said he didn't know.
How many weeks was your initial training with K9 Corsa?
The 4 weeks where I assisted Officer Schumann in teaching and imprinting the dogs on odors, tracking and bite work, and then another 8-week school after that with where Officer Bergen and Bry joined us. So 12 weeks total.
Was that training 5 days a week?
Yes.
How many hours per day was the actual training?
And we'd usually do an 8-hour day, but every day was different depending on what we were doing, whether the day went a little bit longer or we ended after 8 hours.
Is Corsa trained in obedience?
Yes.
To sit
Yes.
and lay down,
Yes.
stand,
Yes.
to heel on both left and right side?
To heel at my left side.
Did you perform obedience training on your own at home or under the supervision of the K9 trainer?
I have done obedience training with Corsa while at work during canine schools at canine training days. And then, yeah, when I'm at home with her, just in the backyard, there's times where I'll work just simple obedience with her.
Is Corsa trained in agility to jump fences?
That's part of the training that we will do at, we have obstacle courses, or while we're out doing a training
Obstacle
scenario, if we
courses.
encounter a fence, then yes, I would have her jump over it as part of a training.
And the broad jump, is she trained in that?
Sorry, what was
It's
that?
a broad jump?
To what?
Broad, B-R-O-U?
Broad?
B-R-O-A-D?
To
jump?
just jump?
Yeah.
Yes, I mean, she can jump.
I mean, is she trained to jump?
I don't have her jump distances.
Okay.
She has no need in her job to be able to jump a certain distance.
Is Corsa trained in evidence recovery?
She is not trained in article recovery, which you would classify as evidence. She is trained in the explosive odors, so the only area of evidence recovery that she would be trained in is locating spent shell casings or a firearm that had just been fired.
So she's not trained to retrieve the evidence, pick it up and bring it back to you.
Correct.
Is she trained
That
to
is
recover
evidence
forensic
tampering.
value of the item she finds? But she obviously isn't, because you were just told us that she doesn't.
Yeah, she's not trained on article items.
When you do you
Dogs
use
can be trained on
part of her
that.
training? Is that part of her training? An article to find something?
No, since she's not trained on articles, I don't use. I use like her toy.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that rest.
I guess I use her toy if that's what you're asking.
All right, and so do you utilize any item in training, like a gun or a knife or a wallet?
No,
Any item with human scent placed on it prior to being placed or tossed into a specific search area?
no,
Is Corsa trained in drug detection?
no.
Is Corsa trained to? You already told us she's trained to detect explosive odors. Sorry, I don't know why I can't say that today. What's the difference between tracking and trailing?
Tracking, I would describe as a dog that is smelling disturbed vegetation on the ground. Trailing would be more just like a dog that puts their nose up in the
Chasing
air and
someone.
just, following odor.
So is that more like when they're in hot pursuit of someone?
No, I'd say it's just a different style of tracking where dogs can be trained in trailing odor rather than tracking odor. My dog is trained in tracking.
Okay, so there is a way to have your dog trained in detecting human odor in the air.
Correct. Yeah. I'm sure that there are dogs out there that are trained that way.
Of course, it isn't trained that way.
Correct.
Do you know how many police service dogs there are in the Cedar Rapids Police Department?
We have 7 dogs on our canine unit.
And how many of those are trained in explosive detection?
Corsa is the only dog of 7 that is trained on explosives.
How many of them are trained in trailing?
0. All of our dogs are trained in tracking.
And how many of those dogs do you have that are trained in tracking?
7.
He said all of them, dummy. Listen.
During your basic handler training, prior to
Oh,
the
God.
were you given research documents concerning tracking or trailing?
Given documents like educational documents or
Documents about research, like I told you, like remember when we talked about only 10% of urban tracks are successful? Were you given any sorts of research to that effect?
I wasn't given like actual documents in the training school, but just different training like seminars that I've went to. There have been speakers at different seminars that have talked about tracking and success rates. They have stated that yes, tracking in a urban environment is a lot harder than tracking in a rural environment, and that yes, there is due to the difficulties in a big city that you have a lot of vehicle traffic, foot traffic. There is a
Got a lot of sense.
What they're calling urban tracking is what you were doing on June 15th of 2021. That's urban tracking.
It is an urban area, but the yard and the wooded area out back of this residence wasn't a spot that has a lot of foot traffic or that you would be able to assume has a lot of foot traffic. When I say more urban area, I'm
Seems
talking
pretty
like downtown Cedar Rapids where there's a lot of
rural.
close streets, a lot of parking lots, a lot of buildings, and a lot of foot traffic.
The data on urban tracking refers to towns, cities. It doesn't refer to just the downtown area. It refers to the residential areas as well, does it not?
Correct. But what
You're
I'm
being
saying is
really
the area of this house and its location,
facetious.
and where the size of the yards, even being a nicer neighborhood, there wasn't a lot of what I would call distractors. It's not an area where I would say there's a good chance that there's been a lot of foot traffic of people in this neighborhood that have maybe walked through this area.
You testified on direct that when people walk, human scent falls off of them. You remember talking about that?
Yes.
That it's not just crushed vegetation, that human scent falls down off of them, and the dog can track that as well.
It's a portion of tracking through my learning and education conferences that I've gone through over.
I mean,
years
they
of being
can't.
canine
There's
handler,
so
they have
many
talked about
types
how your
of
dog is
dogs
tracking
that can
the
track
disturbed
things.
vegetation. However, your body is losing odor. You do
You know
shed
this.
skin cells, and that odor does
Track
drop down to the
humans.
ground where
They can
along
track
the area of
squirrels.
vegetation.
They
So
can
your dog
track
is
animals,
tracking
all
the
kinds of
disturbed
animals.
vegetation, but they still smell some of that human odor with the disturbed vegetation. So, for instance, when I explained earlier on the tracking, and we place a cross track on our track, when the dog gets to that cross track, if they were to check out that cross track,
Not an
hopefully they
exact
determine, say,
science.
yep, there's disturbed
He
vegetation.
already
It's not the same
told
odor as
you.
what I have been tracking along this disturbed vegetation, and they continue on with the track that they were on.
So can you provide the scientific evidence that human scent is falling off of a human in these tracks?
He already told you it's not an exact
Just off of
science.
the training that I have received, both in the 2 canine schools that I went through, one with Narco and the one with Amy, and then the different conferences that I've attended over the years.
Can you tell us how many times Corsa has been trained to track over crushed rock or gravel?
So
I just want to know, can you tell us the number of times?
I can't say a number of times. It's just one of those where it depends on what environments we are tracking over when we're training.
Oh my
A
god.
small park figure?
I can't even, I don't specifically go and say track from point A to point B on cement.
I don't even think we
But
finished
if
with
she is tracking and she
cross.
comes-
Maybe
that
we
person doing the track
cross.
comes across
Finished with
an area of
cross.
cement, an area of rock,
Then
gravel,
recross
whatever it might be.
on day.
That person will still walk across those different surfaces, where Corsa will then encounter those surfaces and have to work through them to follow the vegetation and the odor.
Come on now.
If it were true, what you say, that human scent is falling off of us at any given time, then dogs ought to be able to track over cement and brick patios.
There are dogs that do train scent specific. Maybe depending on the environment they work, there is a lot of cement in the downtown area. I do know different canine handlers that I've spoke to from other agencies at different conferences and canine venues where they do a lot of that training because of the amount of cement that they have. However, I don't focus on just tracking on cement with Corsa. She does encounter those areas, but not specific to just being able to do an entire track on cement.
Well, not only do you not focus on it, she doesn't do it. She doesn't track on concrete. She doesn't track
Correct.
on
She's not trained to track on concrete.
Jesus Christ.
Have you ever heard of the Carl Schorster experiments?
No.
What is the point of tracking on concrete?
Prove that
What
human scent does not
is-
fall off of humans onto the ground when dogs are searching for crushed vegetation?
I don't know anything about that incident that you're talking about to be able to relate to it.
If this can't be done, why is there
Back
so...
to your testimony about being in the house before you deployed Corsa for the track. Remember when Mr. Scheer asked you those questions?
Yes.
How long were you in that house for?
A time frame, I don't know. I would have to refer to my body camera to get the time that I entered to the time I exited.
So the body camera would be an accurate reflection of how long you were in that house for.
Yes,
And you weren't there to search the house.
correct.
You weren't there to document what things had been moved or what things had not been moved, right?
Correct.
That wasn't your job.
Correct.
First of all, you were just trying to stay alive, right?
My initial entrance to the residence and clearing the residence, officer safety was our first priority of clearing the residence.
And I didn't mean to say that to make you sound selfish, but that's part of the job that you have to worry about, right?
Yes,
Is you have to protect yourself
yes,
and the other officers.
yes,
And then you have to go give aid to anybody else that's injured.
correct.
That would be priority number 2,
Yes,
right? And then you got your dog to worry about.
yes,
And then you were clearing that house, right?
yes.
And then you left, shortly after that, you left the house.
To place Corsa back in the car.
Now, we didn't see the entire video of your search. There's another 5 minutes at the end of that video, and I know your search was over, and that's why Mr. Scheer stopped the video. But there's another solid 5 minutes of your dog just laying there panting like crazy, right?
After I was complete with the search?
Yes.
Okay.
Would you disagree with that?
I'm sure she was panting as she was before that we saw in the video. She had been searching, and like I said, I was, right by her. So you're going to see and hear her very well on my body camera, breathing and panting.
Right, but she's in front of you now. She's not like right behind you or right next to your body cam. She's well in front of you, and you can hear her panting, and she's panting very hard.
Are you talking about when I was still in the backyard of the residence?
Yes.
Yes.
You're
Yep.
sitting there.
I was squatted down in front of her, petting her.
Did you see where she was, what she was doing? She was working hard. You'd be panting too. Stop picking on the goddamn dog. Just leave her.
What's down here?
Your friends down here. Where? It is not an exact science. The dog tracks what the dog tracks. They can go over concrete. You can smell smells on concrete. My dog does it all the time.
Thank you. I don't have any further questions. Thank you, officer.
Any redirect?
Oh dear God.
Yes, Your Honor. I'll let you get a drink there, Officer Buckles.
Thanks.
You good?
Yep.
All right. Can you remind us again, how long have you been a canine officer?
Almost 14 years.
Been
Okay.
with Corsa since 2019.
Yes, May of 2019 is, I got her the last week of April, so we started training May of 2019.
So a lot of those training logs that Mr. Johnson was talking to you about with issues in 2019, that was time when you and Corsa were learning how to work together.
Yes, and it was during that initial 12-week school where she was learning to track.
Because every canine is different and unique. Would you agree?
Correct.
So even though you had a prior canine partner, Narco, for almost 10 years, you still had to learn how to work with Corsa. Is that safe to
What
say?
happened to
Yes.
him?
I want to just kind of show some dates as well with that training log that Mr. Johnston was referring to. Your Honor, may I approach?
You may.
And we talked a lot about some dates from 2019, 2022. I just kind of want to focus on the time frame near of June 15th, 2021, okay?
Mhm.
And so looking in front of you on the date of May 21st, 2021, I'll give Mr. Johnson time to look it up. Can you just tell me what your notes say on that track?
She did
Corsa
great.
Great job searching for the start of the track. Hit it, she was locked on it. Very good footstep for footstep track. Road crossings were very well done also. This track covered wet grass, dirt, and concrete.
Can you
Oh,
tell me
shit.
what your notes are for the track of May 31st, 2021?
Corsa did a great job locating the start of the track. She was right on the track the entire time. Great overall performance.
How about
Oh, well, goddamn.
the notes for the track on June 4th, 2021?
Corsa was started about 40 yards from the start of the track. She did a good job locating the start. Worked the track very well. At one point, we had to stop mid-track and wait a few minutes for a lady and her dog to walk by on the gravel road where where the track crossed the road. She did a good job working all directions to locate the continuation of the track. Overall, very good track.
Can you give me the notes of the track on June 7th, 2021?
Corsa was started in a blank area to search for a little bit before going to the small area where the track started. Once she got to the area and located the track, it was an immediate road crossing. She did very well with this. After the road crossing, she was right on the track for the remainder. At the basketball court, she lost odor at the cement. She turned and worked the grass along the edge until she got the other side and relocated, continuing the track. Very hot morning and good endurance building track.
And what about June 14th, 2021, the day before of this incident?
Corsa was started in an opposite block from the start of the track. She worked that area, crossed the road, and continued working the next block. She worked back and forth. When she caught odor, she got very excited behavior. She worked this area of the start of the track. Once she took off on the track from here, she was nose down and worked this track hard. She stayed right with the track and worked it very well for the amount of bake time in the heat.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness?
You may.
Why didn't you read any of those? So what you're trying to say is over time, Miss Little Corsa got better.
Reading your notes, dealing with the year that this happened, a few days or the day before, Corsa was able to work in the heat and humidity okay.
Yes, she was.
And no one's disputing, or there is no doubt that Corsa was panting and excited throughout times of this track and also on the scene. But once again, any concerns that she did not do a proper track?
No, I did not. I understand that she was excited and panting, but as you can see, once I get to the point of deploying her on the track with her command, that she does sniff the ground a lot as she is scanning back and forth throughout that entire backyard. She does at points come up and is panting because she is just getting breath, keeping herself cool. That's how dogs cool themselves down, is by their breathing. But she goes right back down and continues searching and sniffing the ground, and she does that multiple times. And I work her over and over again, back and forth throughout that backyard. She's working those conditions, and she has had success.
And I don't know, but how does Corsa search for someone that doesn't exist?
abstain?
I don't have any other questions.
Mr. Johnson, your microphone's not on.
In none of those notes that Mr. Shear just read you, did you remark that your dog was panting? Did you?
No, I don't recall reading any of that.
But there are entries in the log where you remarked that your dog was panting.
Yes, my notes are always different for each training.
Right, but when the dog is panting, you've made notes of it before.
Yes,
When your dog is hot or tired, you've made notes of it before.
yes.
And none of those that Mr. Shear read you was the dog hot or tired or panting. Is that right?
I don't recall ever making comment that she was panting.
Well, you didn't make a comment that she was hot or tired either, did you?
Okay. Take it back. I guess I didn't. I'm not recalling stating those comments.
Well, I mean, Mr. Shear just read them to you.
Yes,
And you agreed with him.
yes.
All right. And nobody's disputing that when Carissa
Mr.
gets on the
Shear
track,
didn't read
she
it
stays
to
on the
him.
track, right?
Correct.
She
He
can do
read
that.
them.
And if she stays on the track and she runs across a cross track, she can distinguish that and she can stay on the track, right?
Correct.
That is clear from your logs.
Yes.
But what is also clear from your logs is that when she gets hot and when she gets tired, that affects her performance.
Correct. But she has still been able to track while panting. And in this incident, in the video, you can see that she is panting before I start her, but she also searches very hard during the approximately 10 minutes that she is attempting to locate a track. And then when I am done having her search that backyard and I give her a break and put her into an off position, and she knows that she's done searching at that point, she is directly in front of my camera and she is panting.
She's panting hard.
Well, yeah, she's done searching.
Oh
She's on break.
my God.
That's her time to relax.
She's panting hard throughout that entire video.
Yes, she does. She is panting, but she is also sniffing the ground very well throughout it. But like I stated earlier, she can't, from the moment that I start her to that 10 minutes later, she's not going to be able to smell with just her nose that entire time. She has to take breaks and raise her head and start to breathe and pant to help cool herself down.
Well, how well she's sniffing, you really don't know. I mean, she alerted on that tree and she alerted close to the house, but you don't know if she you, go ahead. I can rephrase it, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
You can't read the dog's mind, right?
Correct.
And
But
you don't know
Argumentative,
if older-
asked and
older enough
answered,
that she's not
move the
sniffing.
fuck
She might have
on.
otherwise been able to sniff if she wasn't panting so hard. You don't know that, do you?
but with her panting and her being able to show a change of behavior at the tree and also show a change of behavior over by the corner of the house and start to take that path of disturbed vegetation up towards the back patio shows that even though she was panting, she was still able to smell odor and disturbed vegetation in those two spots. Throughout the rest of that search area that I conducted, she didn't pick anything up.
My point being
Exactly.
that you don't know if she was missing older odors that wouldn't be as detectable because she was panting so hard. You don't know that.
I mean, there's always a possibility, but if you're focusing on that she was panting, she was still able to detect odors. So therefore, there's still a good chance that she would have been able to pick up other odors that were that were in that area due to the fact that she has
She
completed multiple
was
tracks
able
and has had
to
success
pick
on the
up
street
odors.
of tracking
Just in general.
suspects that has been sitting. The track has been sitting for an hour or more, or around that area of time frame.
I don't have any further questions, Your Honor.
Anything else, Mr. Shear?
No.
Questions, Your Honor.
All right.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Buckles. You are free to step down, free to leave.
You may.
Go give Clarissa a hug. They threw her right under the bus.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's a little bit early, but doesn't make sense at this point to start another witness at the end of this long week. I am, before I let you go, going to give you just remind you of the admonition, go into a little bit more detail.
Admonishment. Oh my God, that was brutal. Poor puppy. Jesus Lord. She was panting real hard. She's a fucking dog. Does that hinder her ability to track? I don't know. It could, but she's been able to do it before. So guess what? I'm going to trust my dog. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to trust my dog, and I'm going to trust that she can do the job that she was set out to do. Because I like her better than I like people. And 9 times out of 10, dogs are smarter than humans anyway. Shit. Oh my God. That was brutal, y'all. That was brutal. Day 2 better be very exciting because that was awful. I hope this isn't very long. I don't know. We'll see. But we'll see what tomorrow brings because tomorrow's Tuesday. And we'll see, what that does. What they have on the agenda for tomorrow. Oh, God. Okay. So, he didn't go to here. I want to show you. I know this one is already very long, and I have done too much on this, but I'm going to show you the house because I just want to do. So you know what I was looking at. Share the house. The house. Okay. Oh, goodness gracious. So this is the front. It's got maybe 3-car garage, perhaps. Maybe that's the 2 and the 3. Okay. That's what we got going here. How do we go on to the next one? Just go to the next one. Okay, whatever. See? So much wood. So I'm guessing that's a dining room. Oh, God. Oh, God. Oh. Here, put me down here. Oh, you're not going to make it big? That's fine. Can I do that? Can you make it big? No. No. Oh, God. Okay. We'll just do it like that. I'll just do it like that. Okay. So there's the entryway. There's the living room. See what I mean? It had that built-in entertainment center. That is so old. There's so much wood. Like so much wood. I could not. Like I cannot. Lord. What is this refrigerator though? I don't know. It's the laundry room. It's right off the kitchen. The bathroom. I think this is the master bedroom. Perhaps. This is where Mom was found. Yeesh. But here's the bathroom. I think that was newly remodeled because this does not match the rest of the house. But I love the bay windows. There's like on 2 sides of the house. It's got bay window type things. I love that. I used to have that in one of my apartments. I love that. I mean, I don't necessarily like the setup because it's shaped weird, and I don't like that. But see, it's wood. Like I like this. I feel like this was remodeled. This part of the house was remodeled because it definitely does not match the rest. There's the shower. But why does it? It's got a handicap handle. Nice big closet. Is this an office? It says an office. An office with a bathroom. My God, it's so dated, y'all. It's so dated. There's another bedroom. This is the downstairs. They got new carpet. They got new carpet. Because this is where Daddy was found. This is where Daddy was found. I don't know which room upstairs Sabrina was in. I don't know which one of those rooms was hers. They didn't show that part. But this is where Daddy was. I'm assuming he was down yonder here. But this is where Daddy was. Yep. That's the back door that they came in. There's the other side of the bay window. And there's another side of that. I don't know what this is. This is like a little storage room. I don't know. This is the back. Okay, I think this is off the master bedroom. And then this is off, I think, like maybe the kitchen? I guess they got new windows. I don't know. It's a super nice looking little house. But look, this is what I mean when I say it is the cheapest looking house on the block. Okay, so this is this house, right? It's on a nice little cul-de-sac. It's right there. But then you got this house across the street. Super nice. Super nice. And then ba-bam. You got that nice older looking style cottage, but it's massive. And then you got that one. Now come on. I think that's where the man and the one that the wife that runs with this lady, the mom's, I think. I don't know. And then I think this is where the nice little man, Mr. Yang, lived. I think. I don't know which one lived there, but I think. But see, this it just doesn't match. Doesn't match the rest of them. And then nothing here. So they searched back here, but they didn't search over here or over here. Poor little puppy searched over there and back that way because they said they went out the back door and went that way. Or, well, he went out the back door. So he could have went out the back door and went that way, or he could have went out the back door and went that way. Either way. But I don't understand what this whole concrete thing is. Like, passing over the concrete, the concrete backyard? Like, I don't really understand what you mean. Oh, God, I don't want the map. I don't know. Anywho, that's that. Just thought I'd share that. I like to do that. So we know. But anyway, that was the end of the day 1. We are finally caught up. Yeah. Okay. That's all. We'll get into day 2 after day 2 happens, which should happen tomorrow. I don't know what else they would really have unless he's going to testify. They'll have maybe forensics and stuff. Maybe some fingerprint analysis. Maybe some DNA. I don't really know. I don't remember what she said. What are they going to prove? There was an intruder. Did they take fingerprints? There were other fingerprints in the house that didn't belong to Mom, Dad, sister, Alex. What? I don't know. But they really spent the whole day beating up on poor Corsa. And she wasn't even there to defend herself. I bet you bring her in and I bet you they won't talk about her like that. Leave her alone. She was just doing her job. She did a fine job. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. And that is all I have for tonight. Yep. I shall see you later. Peace.